Donald Trump yesterday held this press conference. I watched part of it before I came on the air, and we talked about it a little bit. But I just wanted to share with you one paragraph that came out of Trump's mouth, and I'm just going to read it straight and ask you. I mean, we had two questions for Congressman Pocan this morning about why didn't anybody know that Joe Biden was experiencing dementia. Susan Glasser, I believe is her name, is a reporter for, as I recall, the Washington Post, maybe the New York Times. She was, I think it's the New York Times. She was on Joe Scarborough's program this morning, and she just did an hour-long interview with President Biden and said, all there. There's no doubt about it. He's not demented. So, what happened in the debate? God only knows. But anyhow, but just imagine if these words came out of Joe Biden's mouth, how the press would deal with it. And then think back. It's been almost 24 hours. Well, it's been over 24 hours since Donald Trump said this. And have you heard anybody highlight this? This is what Trump said. And this is verbatim. I'm not adding or subtracting one single word. This is exactly what Trump said yesterday. Quote, "These people are crazy. There's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with them. They also want to go back, and they have already started that too. When you buy a faucet, no water comes out because they want to preserve, even in areas that have so much water, you don't know what to do with it. It's called rain. It comes down from heaven. And they want to do, no water comes out of the shower. It goes drip, drip, drip. So what happens? You're in the shower 10 times as long, no water comes out of the faucet. You want to wash your hands. They want you to go back even stronger than what they have right now. As you know, I ended that policy. You can have all the water you want. Makes no difference. Especially in certain areas, we have so much water, we don't know what to do with it. And then he goes on about whales in Massachusetts. He says, what's happening up in the Massachusetts area with the whales, where they had 2 whales wash ashore, I think, in a 17-year period, and they had 14 this season. The windmills are driving the whales crazy, obviously. It turns out the windmills have nothing to do with it. From the Boston Globe. These deaths are linked to human interaction. Whales becoming entangled in fishing nets or being struck by fishing vessels traveling through their feeding grounds. Part of it is that global warming is bringing some of these types of whales farther north than they normally are, where they're encountering these large fishing fleets. It's got nothing to do with, but he's just like, and then he goes off on this. He says, he's talking about January 6th. He says, we're looking at it. As you can see, 24 or 28 people came now from the FBI. They came out very quietly. Nobody reported it. They had people in some form related to the FBI. They had 4 or 5 people who strongly related to the FBI. We have to find out that. We have to find out about Hezbollah. We have to find out exactly who was behind that whole thing. Hezbollah? The FBI? Behind January 6th? And then, of course, he goes into this rant about how we've got to have Greenland and we've got to have. This is just crazy. It's just, Greenland and Canada. This is where Lebensraum was this thing. Lebensraum. Where this is from I think from Wikipedia. Lebensraum is a German concept of expansionism. It became of Nazism and provided a justification for the German territorial expansion into Central and Eastern Europe. It's also the excuse that Putin is using to invade Ukraine right now. And Vladimir Putin must just be delighted that Donald Trump is talking about, taking Greenland with force, and talking about, going after Canada, going after Mexico, renaming the Gulf of Mexico. This is just nuts. And now you have the Danish foreign minister who says, I have my own issues with Donald Trump, and I also know that you shouldn't say everything you think out loud. He says, Greenland has its own ambitions, and if they materialize, Greenland will become independent, though hardly with an ambition to become a federal state in the United States. And this is the thing. The French foreign minister, Jean-Noël Barrot, he told France Interradio, he says, there's no question of the EU letting other nations in the world, whoever they may be, attack its sovereign borders. And, this in response to Trump saying that, he would consider taking Green by force. I mean, this is just nuts. And so, anyway, France came out, and warned. I mean, this is, and Mexico. He's talking about invading Mexico. My mind is blown. And this is, and he's not even president yet. Oh, and by the way, in Canada, you've got Doug Ford, the Ontario Premier, who just came out and said, I'll make a counteroffer. How about if we buy Alaska and throw in Minnesota and Minneapolis at the same time? And then the Canadian MP Charlie Angus said, we can't become a state of the United States because our laws prevent sexual abusers from becoming our leader. He says, I bet Americans wish they had that now, and convicted sexual abusers don't get to lead our nation. We're decent folk here in Canada.